Our next segment is sponsored by Apna Hockey, the first South Asian hockey network. They are the 2020 NHL Willie O'Ree Community Award winners. We like to welcome Lali Toor, who's a founder of Apna Hockey. Lali, how's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Good, buddy. Good. Nice to see you again. So we got a very special guest joining us all tonight, and we can't thank him enough for joining us. Our next guest was drafted in the first round by the Florida Panthers in 2003, best draft ever, obviously. And he went on to play 262 NHL games. You can also see him on Sportsnet and Hockey Night Canada, and he's the co-founder of Stewart Hockey with his brother Chris Stewart, and he also has Twitter account that has hockey equality. That's kind of changing the game right now. Stewie, how's it going?
I'm doing well. It's good to see some familiar faces, but thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, we can't thank you enough. So this is pretty sweet. It's a pretty sweet interview for us to get. We've done a few of these before, and I know you and I have kind of chatted before about kind of doing them too, but finally nice to connect with you. But I guess before we jump into things, how are things going, Anthony, with the summer and the kids on the ice right now?
It's going well. So again, we're with the minor hockey kids here. We sort of recovered from the pandemic here. So a lot of kids showed up on the right side of it, doing a lot of training off ice. But now that they're back on the ice, they almost have like a new hunger for it right now, and they're doing well. So I'm coaching a minor midget team next year, and looks pretty promising. We're probably going to have a couple first round picks, so that's good. It's exciting to go to the rink, but I'm just happy to be on the ice, and time flies when you're on the ice. So anything I can do to give back, but definitely it's great to be back on the ice with the kids.
Yeah, no, that's it's great to see. Brody here, he coaches his kids, and
Minor midget too.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll get an exhibition game going. Let's
Yeah,
go.
great.
Yeah.
We'll meet in Manitoba.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on our way.
Yeah.
So before we kind of jump into everything, and some of the people that don't know, how did Stewart Hockey start? When did it start? When did you and Chris get this up and running?
Well, I started because I was the first one to retire. And I retired probably about 30 years old. And this was something I knew that I was going to do, whether I have $100 million or $10 million in the bank. It was just something to give back, because my brother and I had a lot of help throughout our careers as youngsters. And so the ability to get back on the ice and give back to the community that helped us, that's something that was near and dear to our hearts. So I started when I retired, and I urge pretty much any, retiring guy. You sort of feel, a little bit upset about the way things end. You find a love and a new passion for the game being on the ice with kids, especially when you're putting in as many hours as I have, because these kids are getting better by the week, the month, the year, and just seeing that continued growth where, I've been with some kids now for the last 7 years. Just seeing them now turn into draft picks, it's definitely fulfilling. So we did it because we wanted to help back and give back, excuse me. And my brother right now is adding an extension to the program. He purchased Minnesota hockey camps as a sleepover camp for 100 kids. And so now we're just extending our reach throughout Canada and US. And we're going to have some great collaborations and partnerships with different groups to really help grow the game and really shows the support for the kids. And that's what it should be all about, the next generation of kids. And I'm happy to be a part of that.
Yeah, no, it's very special to see. So what are your guys' goals for, the next probably 2 to 3 years? Obviously, there's bigger goals for way down the road, but you kind of sometimes you want to maybe start small and go into bigger chunks. But where are things at right now for the next few years?
Well, in minor hockey, there's usually a reset where you take a group from Atom to minor midget, then you reset and go back down. I'm taking the opposite approach where we're now going up with the kids. So we're in the talks with, junior teams. My brother has a junior team in Minnesota. So, some kids maybe end up playing there next year. We've been sending a couple kids this year from Toronto to play in the Minnesota junior leagues out there as well, too. We're getting involved with some agencies and helping kids as well, too. But at the end of the day, we're on the ice helping, coaching these kids. I've collaborated with Matt Nickel and training some of his pros and some of his junior guys as well, too. So we're just creating that, system and helping these kids, because when you get to a certain age that when you don't really find success right away, you sort of tend to quit or not really know where to go. We're creating that pipeline and really having a system that can really help kids get to the next level, whether it's the OHL, whether it's university, whether it's you want to be a ref. We have resources for that too. So just really having that system to help kids thrive and stay in the game of hockey.
It's obviously we need it now. I think in this game, the game's growing, and I know on your website there, for stewarthockey.com, there you guys have some information breaking down of how many kids from involved in the game, but also how many kids players are involved in the NHL that coming from all different backgrounds. If they're half white, half black, if they're indigenous, Nazem Kadri being Lebanese and all that too. And it's great seeing, like, I play ball hockey and half of my team is they're Lebanese, from India, or we got some black kids on our team too, and I think it's pretty sweet seeing that a lot more now in the game too. But I want to speak to a tweet that I saw over the summer. Elliot Friedman tweeted out, a colleague of yours, had you a picture of you on the ice with the kids, and Darnell Nurse was out and helping you guys out and doing some talking with the kids. Like, how important was that to have Darnell Nurse be a part of what you guys are trying to do and growing the game forward here?
It's definitely great because it's representation matters. And when they see a guy at the pinnacle of his career, especially after signing that big contract, that shows, hey, here's a guy that is, a multimillionaire, and he's here because, in his mind, we matter to him. So to show that, he's out there and having that representation definitely helped. But I don't want to mention a consolation prize, but I think the person that really stole the show was Wayne Simmonds. And Wayne Simmonds came, he spoke to the group, but what was most important to them was he was talking to each kid individually on the side, and it wasn't about the cameras being there. And again, a lot of people didn't see the cameras with Wayne there because he was just there on a friend level, on a personal level, really talking to these kids, because that same conversation that Wayne was having with those kids, that's what I had with him when he was 15 and 16 years old, when no one really knew who he was. But in my mind, I knew him and my brother were going to have great careers because they had those other tools, those stuff that we're teaching, personal, being on time, being a good teammate, all those other factors. That's what we're trying to instill with the kids, because you can be talented at hockey, but there's a lot of other factors that go into making the National Hockey League. And you can see a lot of guys that haven't made it that have been world-class talents, but those lessons that we're teaching. So amazing for Darnell to come out, and Wayne as well too, because these kids saw these guys and they're like, these guys know your coach, Anthony. And I'm like, these are my boys. So It was definitely great to have them out, and it was an experience they're never going to forget.
No, they definitely aren't. And one of our sponsors is Shadified Salon and Barbershop here in Edmonton, and Lali knows them very well too. And Darnell goes to that place all the time. That's where he gets his haircut. And there's been several times I've been there getting my haircut at the same time. And as he walks in, every single person from the door he walks in to go into the back to get his haircut, like, it's all in one big room. But as he walks to the back, every single person he says hi to, he acknowledges them. So. And that just says to me the person that Darnell Nurse is, and what we're trying to get, and everyone to be, right. It's great to see him being there. We've had Mike Fuda on the podcast. He's a colleague of yours too, but you talked about Wayne Simmonds there, but I want you to talk about him a bit more, because Fuda talked about him in great at length and how great he is as a person. Talk about him coming back home in Toronto, being a Leaf, but also being in that roots of the GTA area. That's going to be great for our kids in that area, but also other areas in Canada and the game too.
Yeah, he's definitely been a great addition to the Leafs. And, when I played, guys from Toronto, they didn't want to play in Toronto just because of the media. And, the gets to a bit of a circus atmosphere at times. You got to talk to, 20, 30, 40 reporters sometimes after games, where if you're in a smaller market, I was in Carolina, there's one guy there, and just saying hi, he doesn't want to interview. So for him to really step up and come here and taking a risk and taking a haircut with regards to salaries just shows his passion for Toronto and, the team as well too. So the team, I think he really believes they have a shot to win, because he did have some other options on deadline day last year where he could have signed for more money, but he believes in the group. But I think he really has that passion where, they haven't won the Stanley Cup in how many years. In his mind, he thinks that he can be the catalyst to help put them over the top to win that Stanley Cup. So for him to step up and take that risk, where he could have easily went off into the sunset and played in Florida or somewhere else and made his, $2-3 million bucks. But that just shows what kind of competitor that he is. And the one thing is, when everyone sees him off the ice, they're like, that can't be Wayne Simmonds. Wayne Simmonds is bigger than that, but he just plays that big, where I've had teammates over the years. How much is he weighing? 210, 215. I'm like, No, he's like 180 pounds soaking wet, but
Yeah.
he is just a killer. So I think, he got some injury problems last year, but he signed a 2-year extension this year, and he's definitely going to be a fan favorite where I'm seeing Wayne Simmons jerseys in the short time that he's played here, and he's going to be a fan favorite. And I could see him, if they win a Stanley Cup, him getting a statue in Legends Roll, as they say.
Yeah, no, for sure. One more before I throw it to Brody here. Hockey equality, Stewie. Play for all. It's great to see you on Instagram and Twitter. Thoughts of I think you had a shirt there, Lolly. Is that?
Oh no, I was just fixing the
Okay,
call.
yeah. So
It's in the mail. It's in the mail, Lali. Don't worry.
You had some merch already, but talk about the Twitter account, the Instagram account. As we see in this day and age, social media is so huge. Talk about what you guys are trying to do with that platform and on the social media front.
Yeah, well, hockey quality is just the extension of sort of Stewart hockey, what I've been doing, out of pocket for the last 6-7 years, where I've been sponsoring kids on the ice, off the ice. And, my wife does the books for my hockey school, and, I have 20, 30 kids on the ice every time. And she's like, well, where's the money? She thinks I'm funneling money, but I'm like, no, there's some kids that can afford to pay. There's some kids that can pay half. There's some kids that can pay zero. So I don't really discriminate based on, kids' finances too. But I think now, just with what's going on in the world, we have an ability to sort of now grow the game and have the world listen to really what's going on. For this game to sort of, have sustainability, you need people from different races, backgrounds, genders to really start falling in love with the game of hockey. And I think the main issue, especially in Toronto, is just the price. I have ice contracts for 2 hours, and that ice contract is $27,000. So for me to run a hockey school, I have to have legit probably 10, 12 kids paying $80, which is way too much just to go on the ice for 1 hour. So hockey quality now is raising funds to really now alleviate a lot of those hard costs that come with registration, come with equipment. And again, you see my tweets about sticks. I went and bought a kid 2 sticks the other day, $750 plus HST. I wanted to snap. So through hockey quality, we're raising funds, we're raising awareness, and really making a change in some of these kids' life. And again, coming from someone that's been on the ground, some of these kids that are going to be graduating from the program, you're going to know their name. And I can tell them at 14, 15 years old, they're going to be first round OHL draft picks. They're going to be world juniors. And they happen just to not look like everybody else. There's kids with dreadlocks. There's kids that, have mohawks. And we did an event last month for the Black players now, but next month we're going to be doing one for the Indigenous kids. And we're going to have Ted Nolan out, and Brandon Nolan, and Ron McLean's going to show support. So it's just creating that atmosphere and bubble of saying, hey, here's people in the industry, not just hockey, that are successful. And you have an opportunity to be successful regardless of what path you have. We're here to help steer you in the right direction.
That's awesome. So how can people donate? Is there a donation website that people can go to and donate if they want to help out too?
Yeah. You can go to hockeyequality.org, and there's a donate page there as well too. And we're going to be having a new program now where you can purchase a beginner set of equipment. So we're going to be now donating equipment to kids, and we just teamed up with one of the organizations, the OMHA, the York Simcoe Express, where I think they got together 500 sets of equipment to ship up north to some of the Indigenous communities. So we're just raising awareness, we're raising funds, and just growing the game on a whatever level we can, whether it helps one kid or 1,000 kids. It's just, that's what charity is about, trying to make a difference one day at a time, and one kid at a time as well.
Yeah, for sure. And on our podcast, we're going to jump in on that and help you guys out, and
Perfect.
some of our sponsors. So I'll, when we jump off here, I'll get in contact with you and talk about that. So go ahead, Broads, take it away, bud.
You've done a great job so far. Thanks. You're talking about inclusivity, diversion, those type of things. Is your company just based out east? How do you get? I'm out west here in Edmonton. Is there anything similar, or are you branching out here?
Well, I'll direct that question to Apna Hockey, and we've had some conversations where we're going to be making it Canada-wide and US-wide as well too, where we're going to be collaborating and having some exclusive partnerships with companies where you can actually help. But my goal is through Hockey Quality is in every US and Canadian city, we want programs up and running, whether it's a 1 week or whether it's a full winter season. That's the plan. So it's great that, there's different pockets and different companies that are sort of doing their own thing under Hockey Quality. What we're trying to do is try to get everybody under an umbrella that now can raise funding and alleviate their prices, whether they're in, Saskatoon or Vancouver. They have that programming. So we're looking to get the NHL involved. We're looking to get everybody involved too, but we're starting off in Toronto, but we're going to be expanding to the US and probably out west a lot sooner than later.
That's outstanding. I like that you're at grassroots and you're trying to bring the NHL involved as well. Do you feel like minority players in the NHL, they have a need to help out and chip in and help, or is that kind of individualized as to who should be
Yeah,
doing that?
I think every player that's played there, that's a minority, sort of realizes that they didn't just get there on pure skill, right? They've had mentors, they've had financial assistance, but they've had people sort of go above and beyond. Whether, it was myself when I first started, I had a cousin that played in the OHL. That's where I got my first set of equipment. I had people, I've lived with families for summers or a full year, and just having them now, these people aren't rich, going above and beyond to make sure I'm fed well and dressed well and, have a ride to the arena and paid for. I think they really have that appreciation saying, hey, I didn't get here by myself. Let me do what I can to help the next generation. And that's sort of, I think, where the message gets lost. And a lot of people, when they make it, some people lose sight of that. But I think the minority players, they know that people have gone above and beyond for them, and they're more than willing to do it for others as well.
That's great. Do you feel Mr. Wang was really trying to promote the game in China? You see Mr. Schneider in Philadelphia was really good. His programs going as well. Do you feel like owners have to step up as well and provide a little bit more, whether it's money, programming, initiatives, anything, or are you trying to get involved with that as try to get that 32 teams out?
Yeah, I think a lot can be done. And, when Seattle first started, I got a call from a representative there, and they wanted me to move down there and help with their grassroots. But I said, my work in Toronto is not done, and I don't think Sportsnet will appreciate that. So I'll pass that for the next couple of years too. But I think that's sort of where it needs to start, from the top, and the owners, and then getting involved. And I could just imagine if I was, 9-10 years old and I get to go on the ice and skate at Scotiabank Arena, and I see Austin Matthews, I'm going to be a fan, and I'm probably going to be a Scotiabank customer as soon as possible. So I think they can have some ideas to at least get the kids there to really see what they're missing out on. And that's how it was with my dad. My dad immigrated in the 70s to Montreal, and all he saw was Montreal Canadiens winning Stanley Cups. And to this day, all he talks about when explaining my game or how I need to play is Bob Gainey, Larry Robertson, Shutt, all these guys, Guy Lafleur. And that was someone from Jamaica that didn't even know that hockey existed. To this day, 40, 50 years later, is still a fan.
That's outstanding. My wife's Black. I've got 2 kids who play hockey. So what I see is them being the only Black kid on the team, or wherever we go, they're one of the minorities. So I'm sure that they've dealt with racism over the years of hockey, sadly, but probably never going to end. Sadly, well, I shouldn't say never. Hopefully it will, but they've experienced N-words a couple times and bad things being said to them on the ice, just to kind of get them off their game. Yeah. Any advice to your kids moving forward to kind of help them with that, help them deal with that?
Well, hockey is a contact sport, and you're allowed to hurt your opponent within the rules. But I tell everybody that's not exclusive to hockey. That could be happening at the bus stop. That could be happening on the playground at school. And if someone's calling you names or trying to take you down, that's because they're probably beneath you and they're trying to drag you down to their level. And trust me, I've had that experience, throughout my career. But I'm telling you, the places that I've been and the places I've seen because of the game of hockey, the positive outweighs the negative, tenfold. Yeah. So yeah, it sucks. It's going to hurt your feelings. But again, a lot of those people are nowhere. And then I've had the opportunity through the game of hockey to, climb the ranks and make it a career that's really changed my life too. So yeah, if it happens on the ice, well, you get the number and then get them at another time too. But just know that they're probably losers. So for lack of better words, I think you can say that now in regards to racism, but don't let it affect you. Just sort of, try to keep your head up, and there's going to be detractors everywhere you go, not just on the ice.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks.
No, it's very well said. Lolly, get you involved here. Where do you see
Yeah.
things going here now, and how do you see the programs developing with you guys kind of joining up together? I know you and talk about you guys had a great conference call not too long ago together. You went
Yeah,
to
me, Dampy, and Anthony and his wife had a really good conversation about just about collaboration, right? At the end of the day, Anthony is a black man. He's not a South Asian guy, right? I mean, he's not Indigenous either. But how can we bring in the right people to do the right work? Obviously, we run, the South Asian Hockey Network. We got some programs rolling out with the Flames and the Edmonton Oilers now. But like what Anthony has done with basically just bringing in like the top end talent from the Black community, right? And then having them in front of, Wayne Simmons, Darnell Nurse. We've been trying to do that, right? That's our goal, right? We want these kids to realize that there's more of them that look like them, and there's players that look like them that play at very high levels, right? At the end of the day, these athletes in our community that are playing at the NHL level, like Toor or out in Europe, like Sahir Gill, they are role models to these kids that are coming up through the ranks, right? So I mean, this mentorship it's a must, right? I mean, throughout hockey development, and I always just bring it back to kind of what I went through. I felt isolated growing up. I didn't have role models. My dad immigrated from India, in the early 80s, loved the game, but it was just me and him trying to, navigate through AAA hockey in the prairies, right? And it wasn't fun, right? And Anthony mentioned that, you see the racism, you hear the racism. I felt the systemic racism, but I folded. I mean, I still remember I went headhunting against other kids, right? Especially if they would call me a Paki or whatever, terrorist or whatever. I would go headhunting, right? Because again, that's the best part about hockey. You can show on the ice that what you're really made of, right? But mentally, it did affect me growing up, and that's why when we want to create these programs like how Anthony brought all the top black athletes together in Toronto. We want to be able to create this programming for South Asian kids too, right? Have the top athletes together, and then get the youth involved as well, right? So they can get mentored by them. I think we have very similar goals, and that's why I think this would work, right, under hockey quality. If we're running any kind of South Asian programming out here in the West or even out in Toronto, we have a network that spans basically North America, out in Europe, Australia, it's everywhere, India as well, right? So I think with us, there's definitely going to be a synergy with us and hockey quality. I think it's just more so about let's try to get the right people together and get the right kids together, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about the next generation. Because the athletes in our community, both female and male, they're playing at the highest level. Now we got to let our community know that, hey, they do exist, right? And what better way to do that than bring them together? And I think I'm pretty sure, Anthony, you could probably talk a bit more about this, but when those Black athletes come together, right, they see one another, they talk to one another, right? And then you get Darnell to come out, Wayne Simmons to come out. That's an environment that I've been talking to, with the NHL. I'm in New York City right now, so hopefully I can get into Gary's ear or Kim Davis' ear pretty soon. But these are the type of interactions I think the NHL needs to focus on, right? Because it's not only about the athletes having that mentorship, but from a business perspective, it's also opening doors for revenue, right? I have an MBA, and like I'm a very business savvy guy. And I realized that, out of the four major sports, just like I told Anthony at our conference call, it's the least paid sport out of the four major sports in North America, right? So how do you grow the game and diversify it to a point where, yeah, you're gaining more revenue too, right? Well, I have my people back home, or what? There's 1.3 billion people back home, right? That's a lot of people, just like China, right? And in my opinion, there's a lot of inherent interest in hockey because of field hockey, right? So I mean, it's about the athletes, the top ones trying to make it to the NHL, make it to that pro level, but it's also about just creating fandom, right? You want to create genuine fans of the game. We just teamed up with the esports platform from Vancouver. We're gonna try to get these kids that maybe never played hockey. Let's get them into the video games, and then the prizes we're gonna have for these video games is hockey equipment, so they kind of get more into the game, right? A hockey stick. and use different avenues to get more kids into the game, especially from our community, right? Esports, obviously, it just flies over my head and my co-founder, Dempsey's 46 or 45, sorry. And so we don't play video games, but it's an avenue to get kids more engaged into it, especially the ones that have never played it ever, right? And once they're in, there's avenues to try out hockey, right? Especially if you're in Edmonton, they can register into the Upton Hockey Oilers First Shift program, or down in Calgary, the Flames First Shift program, and try hockey for the first time, right? But the key aspect, I think the key takeaway is you can have these camps, but you have to have the right people on the ice, right? I mean, it doesn't make any sense having a bunch of South Asian kids on the ice and then having all Oilers alumni that are former white hockey players on the ice. It doesn't make any sense. I got to be there. Dams has got to be there. These prominent South Asian athletes in their communities have to be there, right? That way, there's that genuine connection between the kids and the instructors. But overall, Josh, like, I mean, we are working on this. It hasn't been an easy road, right? And I know me and Josh have had some conversation about, winning the Willie O'Ree, right? It's been an eye opener to just see how much support we got for it. But at the same time, it's been tough getting people on board with some of our programming, right? Because at the end of the day, when I'm looking at this from a business perspective and just purely revenue wise, you're looking at a hockey market that's, in my opinion, untapped, right? The hockey has gone to China, right, for a reason. And we all know why they went to China and why they wanted to start programming there, why they want the players to be out there. It's to have that same effect like the NBA. It's all about, revenue and more eyes on your product. So when we're talking about the South Asian community specifically, this is where I kind of get lost. What makes us so different, right? We don't have ice, I understand that, but we have field hockey, we have ball hockey, there's inline hockey, right? There's different forms of hockey that need to be appreciated. At the end of the day, hockey's hockey, right? We're going to try to grow the game that way, help the kids, from an elite perspective, and try to get as many kids from our community in the game, right? That's our bottom line.
Yeah. Stewie, thoughts on that and what, your interactions you and your wife had with, Damps a few weeks ago and Lali and what they're what they're doing with their program.
No, it's definitely been great. And like you said, our interests are really aligned. And, he made a great point saying, the different groups have different needs, right? So the black hockey players have different needs from the South Asian community as well. And he mentioned that, they're even looking at possibly, as a group getting together and purchasing an NHL team. So I'm not trying to spoil your guys' plan or anything, but that just shows how much you want to, break through some of these barriers. But the way that I do it, and people call me an optimist and, I'm crazy, is that, why not put 20 black players in the league in the next 10 years? And I can attest to it because I'm on the front lines. I see this skill. And I think with the proper mentorship and the proper programming, you can definitely have that. And I'm saying, everyone's saying, well, let's go grow the game here. There could be the next LeBron James of hockey that just can't even get on the ice to start. And again, and I think the true tragedy is there would be no, Chris Stewart or Wayne Simmons or Devontae Smith-Pelly if the prices were now that they were back then, because even a middle-class family would not be able to afford themselves how to play hockey, but even now to pay for somebody else and the resources needed to produce a hockey player too. So with Hockey Quality and all these other programming, what we're trying to do now is just have the financial constraints, be released so they don't have to worry about that. They can get on the ice. And if they have enough hours of programming and, you guys and Dams can sort of really attest to this. If you had, a 200-hour program a year, just imagine the talent of players that they could produce in the next 5-10 years. And India, they'll be coming over and they'll be watching if there's 10 players of South Asian descent in the National Hockey League. That's how it was with the NBA, Yao Ming and Linsanity, all that, because they saw the representation there. So I think that should be the goal, not just from the programming, but from the league. How do we get these players there? So I think that's the genesis of the question, what it should be. How do we get more minorities in the sport? And it's a question, do they? It's yet to be answered. But for me, my job is to create the next generation of kids that are going to be so good. You can't tell them to get a haircut. You can't tell them to take their earrings out. You can't tell them to change their clothes, because the talent on the ice and the product of that ice on the ice is going to be that great. And I'm telling you, these kids, especially in my program, they're better hockey players than me. Again, I was a big, strong guy. I had some skill, but just this pure skill. And I think with the proper programming and support, you're going to see 2, 3, 4 more Quentin Byfields in the next 5 years. I'm telling you, I'm seeing it. I'm living it on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, no, it's true. You watch NFL games, and when they do take their helmets off, from Cam Newton to many other players, where they got the jewelry on, they got their hair is different. To what would people call, to them, it's every hairstyle is different, but you can tap into the NHL with that too. Where that doesn't matter. You watch it, you're like, hey, that's a cool style. Like talk about Austin Matthews. There was so much conversation that he's wearing an earring the other day. Like just going crazy about him wearing an earring. And then whatever.
Sorry, Josh, just to jump off that, you're bringing Austin Matthews up. I think he's wonderful for the game of hockey. Like, did you just see his collaboration with Justin Bieber?
Yeah.
This is what hockey needs, right? And this is stepping away from development, on ice stuff, off ice training. But when you look at hockey as overall as a brand, it's a very boring brand, right? You don't see personalities in hockey. You have a certain robotic way of navigating through hockey. You step out of line. You don't have this talk how in the NBA, is it LeBron, is it MJ, like who's the GOAT? We don't have these conversations because the culture of hockey kind of constrains us, right? And it's like, oh, we shouldn't be talking about that, right? Like even personalities, like me growing up, my favorite player was Alexander Ovechkin. Why? Because of his personality. Guy came out in 2006 with a tinted visor. I'd never seen one before that. And the way he presented himself, his passion, his enthusiasm, just his personality, just like it just breaks through. It gravitates people towards that. And it's unfortunate that you don't see more of it in the NHL. And I don't see it with, some of the best players in this league, right? Because they tend to be robotic. But again, Austin Matthews is doing his thing, right? We just posted a video. I don't know if you guys know Nav, the rapper.
Yeah,
he's from Toronto.
I didn't know he played hockey. I didn't know. He went bar down.
I didn't know either, right? I have a buddy that knows him, and so I'm messaging my buddy. I'm like, man, Nav is playing hockey. I was like, if he wants to get in touch with the Maple Leafs, or if he wants to do some sort of collaboration with us, let me know, because that's gonna grow the game, right? In our community, Nav is massive, right? He's the first brown guy to get these deals with Weekend. Be on same tracks like Drake and stuff. But man, this is what hockey needs. It's this. There's a celebrity aspect of it too, right? And I don't know, Anthony, if I might have touched upon it on our last call, but Nav Badia, right? The super fan.
The super fan, yeah.
You know how many fans he's created in our community just with.
I bought a car from him because of his commercials. Yeah.
Really? No way.
Yeah, I did.
It's crazy to think you empower someone in the community that has a voice, or the NBA has empowered Nav Badia, right? I don't think the NHL has empowered anyone in the South Asian community per se, other than us, right, with the award. Mm-hmm. But it's not just a one-time thing. You got to keep throwing us out there, right? You got to get Damps' face out there, right? We're talking with the World Junior stuff in Red Deer and Edmonton. I was like, get Dampy's face out there, right? We're working on some kind of collaborative stuff that I can't say right now, but it's going to be pretty fun come around, December with the World Juniors and kind of what we have in store with Dampy. But again, just collaboration and getting the name out and making sure that, people are interested, right? This collaboration with Drew with I think it's the socks, the t-shirts.
Yeah.
And I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, no, it's a smart idea. So I guess one more before we let everyone go here. Lali, do you have one last question you want to ask Anthony? Anything before we let him go?
I think just I know Burley, you touched upon Charles Wang, and I brought this up as well, and I read it actually on Instagram. But I certainly think, I know Anthony, you mentioned that we are very interested. That's the reason why I would love to meet with Gary here in New York City. Is to introduce myself, right? I'm only 29, but at the end of the day, I've gotten to know in the last 4 years since starting up in hockey, through the MBA program, through just networking, I've met billionaires in our community, right? Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of them. And our community is not a shortage of cash either. So, that's another big thing. If there's ways to, purchase a team, get into minority stake ownership, because when Charles Wang was alive, he did set up programs with Asian youth in the New York, on the island here in New York, right? He had this passion to give back to his community and kind of get more of his community involved. And I don't see that so far from any of the owners per se. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe there are programs like that, but again, I'm a firm believer it starts from the top, and then there's a trickle down effect, right? So I don't know. I just want to like kind of your take on it, because I know we're both fighting the same battle. It's either we're both bottom up, it's top down. Where do you?
It's funny. We talked about it. We talked about it last year when we were talking about the whole George Floyd situation, and I was on air and I basically said, yeah, it needs to start from the top up. And I mentioned owners, and then the host corrected me. I'm not going to say who it was. He's like, well, not necessarily owners, but me more visible in the coaching community. And I'm like, why not an owner? Why not? Right? That was my question back. Well, why can't there be ownerships? And like you mentioned, the South Asian community, yeah, they have the funds, right? There's a lot of billionaires, right? So I think it's just getting the people involved, but doing it from the top up. And you can understand it's a lot of work. Charity is a lot of work, and the basis and the genesis, you have to care. You got to have to care about the common man and bringing them up to your level. And that's what it should be about. People always ask, am I jealous of my brother's success? I'm like, no. That's probably my greatest accomplishment as a brother, as a hockey player, is making my brother a better player than I am. So I think that should be the goal, is creating a next generation better than you. And I think that's how you create the change too. So for ownership, I said a simple solution is, with regards to charity and the team, the easiest thing to do is to go on the ice, because you're on the ice all day anyways. Go on the ice and do a pleasure skate. You send 1 or 2 players every week. You open up the building for an hour and you get 50, 60 kids from whatever group out there. That'll change that. You will see a social change and impact within the community, in 2-3 months. So why not just open the arenas to the fans and let them get out there and let them interact, right? And the Raptors, that's why they're so big in Toronto, because they were out in the communities. They were out at schools. They were out at the hospitals pretty much every single day, because they were a new group in the city, a new business, and they had to grow the game. So just being a little bit more accessible to the players, to the fans. And I think that's the one thing the owners can do. And as a player standpoint, I'm like, you could be tired, but yeah, you know what? I can go on the ice for a half an hour and then look at some kids fall and talk to them and pick them up. That's easy. So I think that's one thing that I think can really do to make a real big impact with minimal effort.
Yep. No, I agree. And I think it's up to the teams to understand, a player like yourself, Anthony, when we were playing back in the day, how should they match you up with certain fans, right? There has to be, some sort of, I don't know. Sometimes I find that people that work in hockey just, I don't know if they don't see the connection. If you see, I don't know, for example, a black hockey player and then a black group of hockey players from their city, you should connect those two, right? Yeah. And that seems so hard to do in hockey, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And especially at the top levels, right? If you have a player that represents a ton of people, why don't you connect them to those people?
Yeah. Right. And you know how Lululemon grew in the NHL is because if you signed with Bauer, you get a $500 gift card for Bauer. And these guys are millionaires, but I get a $500 gift card for Lululemon. I'll do whatever you want me to do. So just add a monetary incentive to it. Hey, I'll go run this camp once a week, or you get a player out there and you get a gift card. I'd be like, absolutely, I'll do that, right? So you got to find a way to have an incentive, but I think it comes down to you genuinely have to care about the people beneath you and trying to bring them up. And I think there's some people that are on board, but I think a lot more can be done to actually do that. And in turn, these people at the end of the day, these kids are, and whatever backgrounds they're from, they're future customers. So why not start getting in their ears at the young age and teaching them the right way to do things. And I think that's good for business, but it's good for growing the game. But at the very most, it's helping, the next generation.
Next generation. And that's going to always help hockey, regardless in the future. If it's about the next generation from different communities, hockey's in a good place. But if it's continuing on this path of, just being exclusive to a certain type of people, right? Or a certain type of community, it's not going to survive, right?
And the one thing I could tell you too is, and you're going to hear about it, and I already know, well, what program helped you? Hockey quality. What program helped you? Hockey quality. In 3-4 years, you're going to keep hearing about this, and then everyone's going to be like, oh, what's this hockey quality? And I already know that's going to be how it's going to come to fruition now, because I'm seeing the kids that are benefiting from this program. And I'm telling you, there's superstars, there's superstars, and I can tell at 14 and 15 years old, and I've only been doing this for 1 year now. So I could just imagine what the future is going to hold in the next 5, 7, 10 years. I think that's how we're going to really generate and produce sustainable change.
Yeah, I think there's a movement coming for sure. Because as soon as I saw it, like I've been watching you. Like I'm the same age as you. Followed you through your career. I know I'm out west, and you're out east. But even your brother, followed him in his career too. And almost every single game that I went to when he was here in Edmonton, he ended up scoring. So he had a couple
We're fighting, yeah.
yeah, fighting too, yeah. But what I liked about it when I saw Elliot's tweet, and that's why I brought that up earlier in the question, is like, I know how passionate you are because you speak about it on air and you speak about it on your platforms that you have. And, with Brody here on our podcast, it's a personal connection too. And, and then knowing Lali for the 5 years I've known him, it means a lot to kind of get you on to talk about this, because I think more conversations like this need to happen. In my opinion, sometimes they don't happen enough. And I think, and Lali and I have kind of talked about it, Broads too. But, I think what you're doing and what Lali's doing is just going to be so great. And you're going to see change and movement. It's already happening, but I think it's going to continue happening on a faster level than what you guys are doing, because you guys are so very passionate about it. And that's something why we want to get a part, be a part of it and help out any which way we can. So on our podcast, so we do a lot of charities. We did one a few months ago. We raised over $10,000 for a family. And then the other 10,000 we went to charity, and we're going to do that again next month. And, your program and Lali's program are programs we want to be a part of and help out and kick back. So,
thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Thank you.
No, for sure. So we'll finish up on that. We appreciate you guys, taking the time to join us today. So any final thoughts, Broads, before we jump out? And
if you happen to have, you were mentioning you had a little camp there with all Black players on the ice. If that ever happens out here, I would love to get my 2 boys out there. So if you do that,
why not bring them to Toronto? Let's go to Toronto, make a trip out of it. We could take you to Wonderland. We can go to the aquarium. But I think now, even in Toronto, there's people are saying, well, there's not a lot of I'm like, there's 2, 3, 4 minorities per team, right? I have 4 Black kids on my team this year. When I first started, I had 8 Chinese players, East Asian players on my team the first year. And it wasn't because it was just, hey, these are good kids that know how to play hockey. It doesn't matter. They just happen to be Asian players. So in Toronto, it's a big melting pot. But again, I want to use this to sort of now expand and go everywhere, because I believe it can really make a big difference. And anything we can do to help, be sure to hit me up and let me know.
Perfect.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thanks again, guys. Continued success. Glad hockey's back, because Stewie's going to be all over Twitter with this great gift. So it'll be pretty sweet to see. So, but thanks again for joining us on the 2 Months podcast. It's an honor.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh.